Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Truckers Channel. How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Pretty good. Always love to be on the show.
Well, I'm glad to see you came on tonight, Amanda. And Joe, we appreciate you coming on as a guest for tonight. A
Absolutely.
couple quick things I'd like to get into before we get started with our guest. Apparently, your northern state up there, your neighbors, Joe, 33% of the drivers the non-domiciled drivers had illegal CDLs.
I'm aware of that, and I have a unique idea. Uh, Using our weigh stations that they've closed, we're going to be using them for inspection sites as governor. And we're going to be looking at driver's license. We're going to be looking at loads. We're going to ensure that fentanyl and firearms are not being trafficked into, or people aren't being trafficked into our state. So we're going to shore up essentially our interstate borders and ensure that that's not happening in our state.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So, but before we get farther, Amanda, somebody sent in a funny tonight.
Uh-oh.
Here you go, Joe. Here's what they don't ever call a raccoon stupid.
Okay.
Apparently, one broke into a liquor store in Virginia.
Got drunk and passed out.
Got drunk and passed out. Not just anywhere, right between the trash can and the toilet in the bathroom.
Very appropriate.
I did
All I
see
can
that
say
one.
is a smart raccoon. So, Joe, would you care to tell everybody exactly who you are?
Yeah. So my name is Joe Severino, running for governor of the great state of Illinois. My introduction to politics was I ran for a congressional seat here on the northern end of the state in 2022. Fantastic run, did very well. It's at that moment that I realized that we have a uniparty here that exists in Illinois. There's no differentiating between a Republican and Democrat. It's a machine against people. And when you're running on behalf of the people, they're not inspired to help you. They don't contribute to your campaign. They whisper campaign. They try to kind of create obstacles for you as you're going along. Therefore, I decided at that moment that I was going to run still aligned with Republican values, but I was going to run as an independent patriot in 2024 and kind of draft off that seat and do it independently. Well, they prevented me from being on the ballot, and I ran as a write-in. It was fantastic, and that was kind of predicate upon why I'm running now. I realize that people don't have the proper information to make diligent choices at the ballot box. So I'm going to echo from the top of the ticket down exactly what we need to do with our party, with our state, and with our communities to make things better. Call out the individuals that are preventing us from having success and ensure that they're no longer involved in our party so we can have relative success going forward. And I care because I'm a father of 5. I have 4 girls and a boy. I care about men playing in women's sports. I want to get back to respecting women's privacy, et cetera. But the reality is I'm a family man. I believe in the nuclear family. I believe in the Republican pillars. I believe in God. I believe in our Constitution. I believe in our community. And no one else is stepping up to authentically fight for our values. And that's exactly what I intend to do.
Well, we need more of you in every state.
Yeah, we certainly do. We certainly do. Thank you.
One thing that then U.S. Senator Mike Braun said, and of course now he's governor, and if elected, you'll be able to talk to Mike from occasions. He actually had said something about we need more entrepreneurs in Washington. What's your thoughts of that?
I absolutely agree. That's kind of a large part of what's going on here. When you go into politics, you believe that everybody's viewing it through the same lens that you are. The reality is these people don't have the biography to be able to manage these seats, and the public sees through it, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, unfortunately. The reality is I come with a 25-year business background. I started my business with a $1,500 check from my father, a loan, which I paid back. did extremely well, had a lot of opportunities. I went to Harvard Business School. I graduated from the celebrated OPM program where they take global leaders, 177 every year, bring them together to study over a 3-year period, believing that these individuals are going to impact and affect change in the world. And yes, I'm aware of how utterly liberal Harvard is. That's probably the only downside to the institution. But going forward, we need business-minded individuals. You go into this with a business lens, and you tell, let's say the political hierarchy, well, we could do it differently. Well, Joe, concentrate on your race. No, I'm concentrating on the community and how we could do things differently, and you almost have to take an adverse position against your party leadership because, particularly in Illinois, they've been stealing elections since the 60s. And the reality is there, and it exists here. The reality is if you run under their pillars and to benefit yourself or to benefit them, you're not going to inspire the everyday voter, the independent, maybe Democrats that would entertain a Republican. But when you run with the party with the corrupt view of what we should be doing, you're not inspiring anybody to get up and vote. We are not going to, we'll serve J.B. Pritzker a third term because there's no offering that will actually be able to benefit the people. When you have a business mind like I do, you can go in there, you understand leverage, negotiation, what it's like to kind of sweat through growth and adversity. And that's the biography that business people bring to the table. J.B. Pritzker in Illinois, he's never grown through adversity. He was born, into a billionaire family, a trust fund. Every time, there's a little heat on him, he can't handle the stress. He breaks down even publicly. And we need a fighter that can match or bring the intellect, the biography, the experience to compete against him in the general election. And that's why I'm running. I believe I'll be the nominee with God's hand. And then we will have the best opportunity to beat him in the general election and turn Illinois red.
One
That would
other
be
question.
awesome.
Yeah,
One question I have with going into the business part of this is, and a lot of drivers complain about this, is, as a matter of fact, I think one of your former governors ended up spending some time in Colorado over this, was the Illinois toll road.
sure.
And the only question I can ask is, do you ever foresee that being paid in the near future?
Here's part of what I'm running on is repatriating a lot of the revenues that have left Illinois. This is all cronyism. There's private equity companies making incredible money on our off our tollways, our skyways, our parking meters. They're being operated here, but all the funds, you're talking billions of dollars are leaving our state. We're going to repatriate all that money. We're going to bring ownership back to all those, and we're going to hold them accountable. A lot of that tollway money, it's not showing up in schools. The lotto money's not showing up in schools. We want to hold people accountable and find out where all that money is going, and we're going to do exactly that.
Okay. Amanda, you got anything you'd like to ask Joe?
I know that there's a lot of what you could say redistricting
Sure.
in other states. How do you see that affecting, the Republican Party?
Well, I think it's brilliant the light that our president Donald Trump has shined on the gerrymandering. Essentially, where I am, I'm in probably one of the more blue districts in Illinois. If they gerrymandered anymore, they would be favoring Republicans. That's how bad it is. We have we have districts that are going from downtown Chicago almost to the southern end of the state. As governor, I would advocate, and I do believe that we could create an environment where we would just spin a compass, create the districts, dead center, fill them in from there, and then the people would be properly represented. Right now, it's not just about voting, it's about the disenfranchised individuals and voters that really don't have a voice because they're being tokenized. And we're going to change all that as governor. There's no question.
It's kind of hard for the people to have a voice anymore because I think it's gone from where the majority has been, us voting and seeing the numbers on our votes, and now it's gone more towards the electoral college now.
Well,
So those matter more than I think the people's voice.
yeah, what's really being harmed is our disenfranchised community. So they're
Hmm.
taking, an area of minorities that should have their own representation, and then they have, some white guy in Southern Illinois that doesn't relate to them at all, supposedly advocating on their behalf. There's placeholders here. Illinois, I always say Illinois is one of the most corrupt states in the nation. I used to think, when I ran for Congress, by the way, my race stopped counting for an hour. They had to replace my flash drive. And I'm not saying I want to race, but I'm saying that, there's some nefarious things that go on in Illinois that the public aren't aware of. All the division that's, being exhibited it's almost by design. We as people have to stick and to our values, fight for our community and our neighbor without sacrificing value, and just get rid of the people that are in leadership positions, because they're the ones that are profiting and holding us back. And part of my run is to out them as we go along, which you inherit a lot more arrows and fights. And they've literally tried to have me arrested 5 times for mean tweets. Now, this is not an exaggeration, put orders of protection against me. I had to go to a full-blown hearing until it was dismissed with prejudice and non-meritorious. When you want to be a voice to sort of wake people up as to what's going on and point the finger to the individuals that are the true interlopers and the ones causing us the harm, it's dangerous to run in Illinois. So it's the head of the snake. I used to think it was Washington gave the marching orders to Illinois. I believe Illinois has a part of what's going on in Washington, and we have the CCP infiltrating the Republican consultants here in Illinois. We have them trying to buy our property. We have these hedge funds buying up all our single family housing. Somebody that's aware, has the instinct and the grit to be able to fight and recognize what's occurring here, needs to be in office immediately, and that's why I'm running.
Well, I
There's a
definitely look forward to seeing you in there.
Well, thank you.
there's a couple of things I wanted to bring up real quick while you're here,
Sure,
Joe.
sure.
Um, Speaking of redistricting, Illinois and Indiana are scheduled to have a meeting about rezoning the state line. What's your thoughts on that?
To be honest, I think it's ridiculous in the sense the only reason that conversation is happening or there's any deliberation whatsoever is because of inefficient management on the Illinois side. Of course, Indiana would love to have us. If I was Indiana, I would love to have that tax base merging as well. The reality is, if we were properly managed and we stopped starving the people in southern, central, Illinois and the communities that border that are hurting, on our south side, nobody would be deliberating such an act. We have to. Some say they want to secede. It's all this talk. The reality is, being properly managed, like you referred to earlier, being properly managed, you can take a tax base, create an environment that is more employer friendly, that's more business friendly, where they have trust in our Illinois government to either come back to our state, or businesses will be born here. And then the reality is that won't happen unless we actually have a change in our government. J.B. Pritzker doesn't care about it. It doesn't affect him at all. People in southern Illinois, central Illinois are starving. They can't pay for their utilities. So, we need a leader. To answer the question, we need a leader that knows how to bridge gaps financially, create opportunity, inspire business leaders to be here, lower our taxes, and then there won't be a southern end of the state stranglehold on the reliance of taxes that are coming from the Cook County, from Chicago. And once they have their own tax base, I believe that people won't be as enthused about, joining up with Indiana anymore. I think that conversation would stop.
Well, and the thing of it is, I too from Indiana, but I mean, I look at what the burden could be in the future just on our side. I mean,
Is
there's pros to cons and everything. Like you said, it's a business,
Sure,
and you
sure.
have to
And
treat it as such. And I think that's where a lot of people got ticked off with Trump because the Don has treated the United States as a business.
sure, sure. And
And
he's bringing billions of dollars, the trillions uh, of new investment, inspiring individuals and businesses and countries to invest back in the United States. We're the lighthouse here. We're the pillar of shining hope. We need individuals that are inspired to come back here, and we need leadership that can do that. And that's exactly why I'm running. I can inspire businesses. I'm aware of it as a business owner for 25 years. I'm still in business now, but not managing people. I've managed thousands through municipalities, private, you name it. The reality is, it would be shocking to you. I had a buddy of mine the other day that said, Joe, I wish I could run for office. I just don't think I'm qualified. I almost thought he was joking. Qualified. The guy owns a bunch of businesses. The reality is he's more qualified than probably 95% of the politicians we have in office right now. We need those business leaders, and we could turn it down quick. And I'm a fan of what Donald Trump is doing. I like what's going on with the tariffs. I think long term it's going to be fantastic for us. So, a lot is yet to be seen, but I think we're going to have especially if we hold our, national office, I believe there's going to be a lot of great things coming for the nation, and I hope to be governor to complement that here locally in Illinois.
okay, so I had a viewer send me a list of questions. If you want to go over those real quick, we
Sure.
can.
All
His first
on the fly in the improv, no problem. Nothing to hide.
his first question is, what would you do as governor to make Illinois more attractive for everybody to stay, live, and work in the state?
I'm sorry, you broke up one. Say that one more time.
What would you do as governor to make Illinois more attractive to stay, live, and work in?
So what we need to do is repatriate some of our pensioners that are left. They've taken an immense amount of revenue out of our stream of commerce here in Illinois. So what we're one of our initiatives is to repatriate them by removing the tax burden on property. So if they repatriate, they will no longer be being tasked with paying property taxes. So we'll abolish their property tax if they come back to Illinois, particularly the southern end of the Illinois where we need to develop. We're not going to interfere with farming, but what we need to do is build up a tax base, a sustainable tax base down there. So not along with business, we're going to bring the people. That's number one. Number two, I just think for too long. Well, here, ask the question again, and then I'll go on. I don't want to jump ahead of myself.
So speaking of taxes, he comes up with, what about this tax that downsized taxpayers will be paying for Chicago mass transit system? He's
Sure.
got it set up right now that the last he had heard, the downstate would get 10% and Chicago would get the remaining 90.
And you're referring specifically to the Metro tax bailout, or
No,
tax
the
bailout?
Chicago mass transit system.
Yeah. So I think it's is it $5 billion? Or no, it's $1.5 billion. I think deficit. Correct? Do we know?
That I don't
Yeah.
know.
So it's about $1.5 billion. I inspired the idea. So here's what happens: because of inefficiencies and incompetencies, the city of Chicago government is looking for the bailout and throw that bailout on the taxpayers throughout the state. My initiative was to sell the naming rights of our mass transit in order to bridge that gap, rather than to throw the burden on the taxpayers who didn't mismanage funds. And that could be done. And when they measured the value of 210 miles of track and stops, et cetera, and through the mass transit, the value is about $1.5 billion in advertising. And since I mentioned the idea, I think it was AT&T or Verizon took over one of the stops. They market the stop very well. So it's a mismanagement. I don't think that the taxpayer should pay the burden of these cronies. I mean, it's all about corruption and cronies. They're profiting, and as soon as they need to balance the budget, they reach into the taxpayer's pocket. It should be the reverse. We need to be accountable. We need to lessen the amount for the taxpayer, and that's how you get a state to thrive.
Well, and I think that's what happened with the last governor, with
Rauner or JD?
Ronner.
Uh-huh.
No, the one that went to Colorado.
Yeah. So Bruce Rauner, he's like the biggest fight here in Illinois. I'm literally fighting. He was you know what a rhino is. Not actually a Republican. I'm an actual conservative Republican that resonates so well with people, and that's what's scary for these the corrupt individuals here. But Rauner and his holdovers, I just put a post out today. His holdovers are the ones that are trying to pollute the primary right now. They're trying to, grasp any mechanism of power or grasp any mechanism of power that they can, because, once people can see an efficiently run state, all these people will be disincentivized from being in politics or being around, because, they're not going to be able to profit anymore. And Rauner is the one that, he held us. He was a pillar of hope at the time, but he actually sold us out. We have the abortion now, up in late-term abortion. All these, the gun grabbing. All this is predicated upon his form of republicanism, and that's what we're fighting against. And so, we have Republican. We have. I call them cheap Republicans. They're only Republicans when it comes to taxes. Everything else, they're very liberal. So the reality is we're fighting them throughout the state. It's a big fight, but it's worth it. But you brought up Browner. At least he didn't go to jail. He didn't go to jail.
No, actually, one of your former governors became one of our residents in Indiana for a while.
Who was that, Ryan?
Ryan.
Yeah. He passed.
We'll get to him in a minute.
Yeah. So I wasn't as big a fan of politics when he was around. I've always known it was corrupt. My father was a Teamsters official. I've been around corruption since I was a kid, and I knew what these politicians were. But I will tell you, I never realized how bad it was until I actually started to run.
Well, there's one thing I always did say about Jimmy Hoffa, Joe.
Funny
He's
you should mention.
I've got his picture on my Facebook page.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Most honest crook I ever met.
Oh, got it. Well, some of his people are helping.
He would tell you, "I'm going to take your money."
Well, an honest, but some of his people are helping with my campaign. We're going to tap into the unions. We're going to tap into people that just want better for their state. And when you have the right voice and someone that resonates with everyone, I grew up fighting every day of my life. I didn't say that in the intro. I grew up in Cicero, Illinois, which is a very tough place to grow up.
You're South Side boy.
Yeah. And so literally fighting. If I didn't have 300 fights in my life, like bare knuckle brawls, I didn't have one. The reality is you need somebody that's willing to fight. You need somebody that has the instinct to understand, where the arrows are coming from and how to act as a shield for those that need to be protected and insulated from those arrows. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And when you resonate like that, because you have that business biography, plus you know what it's like to be humble in your life, that creates an opening for someone to actually win on authenticity And that's why everybody is kind of fighting against me in Illinois. So I need help, and that's why opportunities like this I'm very thankful for, because it's all about getting the word out in this race.
So another thing I was going to touch on here, since you said some of your office people were helping with the Teamsters.
Mhm.
Actually, I was raised in the same county Jimmy was born in.
Oh, is that right?
They just
Where's
put a plaque in the museum in the county for in his honor for
Oh,
being born.
interesting.
It was born in that county.
What county
If you
was
look,
that?
Clay,
Clay County. Okay.
if you look in the Brazil Times to this day, every once in a while you'll still see a Hoffa name.
Oh, no kidding. Well, his son was out, wound up being the Teamsters president, and
Yes.
they outed him, but yeah, definitely a legacy name.
Oh yeah. Uh, our guy from down in Effingham, Illinois. Actually, these were issued out by Doug Aderman. He's actually a safety director at Putnam Trucking in Effingham.
Okay.
He also wants to know, what would you do with the law that was imposed on the Illinois citizens Protect Illinois Community Act?
So I think he's referring to the Safety Act, correct?
Right. That's what
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Yes.
Yeah. So if he, I didn't hear what you said, but if it's the Safety Act, we're going to abolish that on day one. The reality is, you have a situation where our citizens are what occurs. First of all, you cannot run a state if you can't keep people safe. That's number one. So number two, you have to create mechanisms where they can be safe. And one of those mechanisms wouldn't be catch and release. I believe that we should go back to a stop and frisk that of the Rudy Giuliani times. These kids, they're walking around with weapons, from 9 to 17 years old. The reality is, we abolished the Safety Act on day one. It's unconstitutional. We shouldn't be putting our citizens at risk. We're giving up a right. You learn first day in law school that once you give up rights, in consideration of that right, others are supposed to give up the right to do whatever they want. Well, we have honest, good people giving up the right to do what they would ordinarily want to do or have the impulse to do, and criminals aren't. And they're rewarding them with short sentences and letting them out prison. We have to get back to tough times for tough offenders. And that's exactly what we would do after abolishing the Safety Act. It
There
would
was
be on day
just
one.
there was just an issue I heard in Illinois, I believe. The man had been arrested, 72 prior
Oh,
convictions.
gosh. I don't even want to hear this. I know.
The prosecutor begged the judge to throw him in jail, and the judge refused.
You're referring to the beautiful young woman that was set on fire?
I believe so. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
The atrocities that are occurring, that Safety Act was predicated upon, which I agree with. There's very few. Well, we'll get into why the Safety Act was even considered, but the reality is, the when they wanted to stop bail. Let's say there was some father that was smoking pot, gets arrested, can't make bail. He shouldn't sit in jail for 5 days. He shouldn't lose his job, not be able to see his kids, et cetera, et cetera. I understand in that kind of a situation, mental illness, innocent crime, not of life. In those kinds of times, I agree with you. Want to help the individual, use help them to rehabilitate themselves in a good way. However, that's not what they're doing. The reason they're doing this is because they've misappropriated funds. They're not keeping their budgets honest. They can't hire new police officers. They can't staff their prisons. That's why they're letting them out. It's not because there's a belief that, these criminals should be walking. They're letting them out because they can't afford the staff. And that's why on day one, two of the appointments would be the director of the Illinois State Police and the director of our Department of Corrections. And I have two of probably the nation's top picks particularly for the Illinois State Police, that we would go in, we would work with ICE. We would help to facilitate the deportation of all the criminals, and then start serving justice again to criminals. They would stay locked up. If they're overcrowded, we would find the monies to ensure that they were properly supervised in the jails. And the way these geniuses came up with the ideas during COVID, they were letting criminals out. Remember Michael Cohen? They were letting all these people out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the way. So you need individuals that that have instinct to understand what they're doing, what they're up to, and why things are failing. And that's exactly why I'm running for governor.
Fair enough. The last question that Doug had was, what is your stand on the FOID Act, the firearms owner identification card?
Yeah, again, we would abolish the requirement. I'm a big believer in the Second Amendment, and I don't think our Constitution should be taxed. And I believe that's an unnecessary tax on people. As a matter of fact, I'm going a step further. We have emission stations here in Illinois for car testings. We're going to close those down, and then we're going to make them state-sponsored firearm owner facilities, where if anyone in the family wants to learn, or our community wants to learn how to shoot, they could do it. It's about $2.8 million a year earmarked for the emissions that will translate into firearms owner. And so we have some wonderful things to kind of preserve our Constitution here in Illinois, and that's a predicate upon why I'm running.
Well, and Amanda being from Texas, I think she'll tell you she supports her Second Amendment right.
Good for Amanda. I love it. I think her microphone might be.
No, she's muted out right now. She'll come in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, so big fan of the Second Amendment, and I think all these. There's a the AR bans, which is actually an Armalite rifle. We wouldn't have that here. It's unconstitutional, and we need individuals that can fight against the gun grabbers and the life takers, et cetera. And that's exactly what I intend on doing.
So let's get a little bit. We got about 20 minutes left. Let's get a little bit into trucking part of aspects. You said yourself you're working with some of the Teamsters, which I'm glad to actually hear that.
Sure.
Illinois has also been noted for one of the biggest taxes on fuel that there is, and mainly because we always get charged on the back end.
Okay.
As governor, what would you do to reserve that the owner operator and the independent would not be charged on the back end anymore? So
here's what's occurring. We just had a couple of different tax we should call them penalties, tax increases here in Illinois. There's a gas tax that went up. So we're automatically going to reverse those. There's a lot of debt in Illinois. The reason they're doing that is because they can't find the money's other place. So they're finding creative ways, again, to pick the pocket of our citizens. So what we're going to do is drastically consolidate the government here, create opportunity. We're going to reduce the property taxes, and then and when you have competent government in, you don't have to do the unnecessary taxing, and that will benefit the truckers. I love to see what's going on in Washington. The gas prices are finally dropping. Commerce is being reinvigorated in some areas, and we need leadership that can actually do something. And I'll tell you this: my lieutenant governor, his name is Ranch Isquith. Ranch used to be on the executive side, in the executive suite, C-level office, with J.P. Morgan, with Chase Manhattan, with Mobil Oil. So this is the man that's going to help solve the fiscal crisis in Illinois. He's going to know a lot more about, the fuel charges and how we can attack that. And that's specifically why I tapped him, and we partnered up for the run. But when you have that kind of sophistication, there's some great things that are going to happen, and that's why we're dangerous as a primary opponent to individuals that aren't caring about the community. But this is a gentleman that actually sat and testified in front of Congress, cabinet members, the Senate, with an incredible biography, and that's going to help the truckers and commerce as a whole.
I just pulled up my fuel receipt. I ran through Leroy, Illinois yesterday.
Okay.
I bought $442.90 worth of diesel. That was 115 gallons. That price turned out to be $4.39 a gallon.
Oh, wow. Okay. So diesel's still up.
So my whole point of this is Illinois has always been like this. Owner operators such as myself, and there's a few others that are listening, we would rather just pay the tax going through Illinois than trying to buy fuel to subsidize that.
I
Because
agree.
we're not going to get hit on the back end.
Right.
Unfortunately, I had to buy fuel in Illinois that day. But I'll be honest with you again, I'd rather just go ahead and pay the tax outright than try to be banged on the back end.
I don't disagree. However, you have to understand the perspective of those in Illinois. What's happening right now is you're coming here and complaining. We have our population, our border states. If you're in the southern end or like the south side, east side, what are they doing? They're going to Indiana for their groceries and their fuel. Where by me, they're going to Wisconsin. You go to central Illinois, they're going to Iowa. So, it's like the reciprocal, the twist of what you're experiencing. And again, it's not just for out of towners that we want lower gas prices or to prevent, the back end. We have to start, managing our budgets here and making life more accessible for people. The budgets, I mean, people, it's not sustainable what's happening right now. And although I do like the trajectory we're on federally, locally, Illinois is not seeing any, any breakthroughs unless we change administration. And you need a bold voice and a fighter to do that. Otherwise, we'll have a Rauner again. They're running this little, his name's Ted. They're running him in the race. All the old crony consultants are behind him, and what they have him to do. Guys like 5 feet tall. He's been a bureaucrat and an institutionalist for so long. They're all getting behind him, giving him money. He doesn't have a chance on earth to win. And if he did, he'd be like a freshman the first day of high school in a crowded hallway, just getting bumped and elbowed around. We need somebody that can stand firmly and can understand how to navigate these waters. And unfortunately, if Joe Severino doesn't get elected, there's not going to be a change, particularly to what's on the ballot right now.
Well, I mean, we're talking about fuel prices and everything of that nature, but just this simple cup the other day cost me $3.20 to get filled.
Oh, wow.
In Illinois, and that's a
ridiculous.
24 ounce.
That's ridiculous. What is it in
320.
Indiana?
I can get it done. I can get this filled for $1.50.
So, everyone is starting to feel the squeeze. I just saw a big bag of potato chips. I remember like Funyuns or Cheetos, whatever they were. Remember it used to be like 99 cents for the big bag. Now it's like $7. It's just, families need to start eating better again. Right now, they're relying on fast foods. They're doing all the door dashing, et cetera. We need to make groceries, being able to purchase them again for the families, because what is available to them isn't the healthiest of options. And, that kind of leads us into this kind of, the medical dynasty that exists here in Illinois, where they prefer people sick because it runs a register. We have to make it more affordable, give them good choices, those that want it, make it affordable to have those good choices for our children, et cetera, and everybody can start thriving again. And that's the hope of why I'm running.
Well, and when you take a look at somebody like Amanda, there's a good example. She left the medical field to be out of here on the road. Yeah, she was actually in the medical field for a while. Now she's trying to feed 3 kids.
Yeah, which
and
is difficult.
Even though she's in Dallas, it's not Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole country's being affected in one way or another.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And we need, the shining star states. People think I say I love Illinois. I think it's one of the greatest states in the nation because I'm running for politics. I think it's one of the greatest states in the nation because uh, we have so much to offer. We have the farms, we have our concrete jungle, architecture, culture, cuisine, the arts. I mean, you name it, it exists here in Illinois. Opportunity, um, uh, diversity. I mean, you name it, we have it here. So if we have the proper leadership, show how things can be done, it will be reflective and emulative to other states. And that's the hope here. It's not just about Illinois, it's about to set a precedence of how you can turn a state around, akin to what Florida's done with DeSantis.
Well, I mean, I'll say one thing for Chicago: we get a lot of good players at Notre Dame.
Yeah. And the Bears are doing well now. The Cubs did well. I mean, I forgot about our sports teams, but we want to be an entertainment district again. We want to be a destination state. We want people to come here. We want tourism back. We want to bring dollars back in instead of having them flee, and that's exactly what I intend to do when I run
What's your
or when I'm
thoughts on the
elected.
Bear? What's your thoughts on the Bears moving?
Yeah, I'm for it. I'm for it. I don't have an issue. I think what they're trying to do is create these. It's almost like a destination style. You go to some of these like other states where they have a casino, the horse racing, the football games, NBA. All wrapped up under one roof. That's essentially, I think, what they're going to do there with their development, hotels, entertainment, restaurants. So I'm all for it. It's not not only is it not safe now, God forbid if there's another J.B. Pritzker term, people just don't want to go down there anymore. So I'm all for it. I think it'd be great. And that brings me to the horse racing. I want to bring horse racing back. I want to stop taxing the purses the way they did, that drove them away, and make it more economical for them to be here. So there's a lot of very good ideas. And I'm all for the Bears movement because I think that's kind of heading us in a new direction.
Well, and I know there was talk about Wrigley Field about redoing it, or actually moving Wrigley Field to another site.
Sure.
I I can't. You're talking historical now with Wrigley.
No question.
I mean,
I
I'm a Boston fan, but
uh,
you just can't take something like that and just move it. I mean, you really can't. Yeah, I think they need to put some funds back into it and redo the field myself.
I think that we need to get some more sports teams here. I think that would be great. We have the Cubs, we have the Sox, maybe another football team, maybe you know maybe basketball, something that maybe even if it was somehow in the central area of Illinois, just what California does very good is the way that it's developed so well throughout the state outside of like Barstow. But that's what we want to do. That's what we want to do. We need to kind of develop our state where we have these offerings throughout the state, and they're all revenue getters. And if you create opportunity and people aren't worrying about how they're going to make their house payment or feed their children, they'll spend those dollars. And that's another thing. We're going to lower the income tax, and we have an idea to do that as well.
Well, and the thing of it is, though, I mean, California did lose two major teams.
True, and they're losing a whole lot of people to Vegas and Texas.
The historic Tropicana got tore down just so the A's could play baseball now.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
You know,
And I wasn't I wasn't sad to see the Tropicana go, although that is Vegas history there. I think that was the first casino, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it, the Tropicana? Yeah, that was
one of the
started.
first.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, maybe there was a preservation loss there. I don't really think too much about it, but the reality is, California is hurting right now, and I think Newsom's going to be underwater. But the thing that I fear is that what happened with what was his name in New Jersey, Chip Petty. What was that guy's name? Ran for governor, the Italian guy.
Yeah.
It was almost akin to what's happening in Illinois. You know, the governor's underwater. Favorables aren't so great. They were going to, have these Republicans came out, or I should say, voters came out for the first time in 31 years. The mass voters came out, and they thought for sure he was going to, win. And then what happens? He's run for governor before, and I think he increased his loss by 1%. And now they have Darren Bailey out here, who ran in 2022 from Clay County. Isn't he from Clayton County, Effingham?
That would sound about right.
Yeah.
I'm not much on the Illinois side of things.
Oh,
I get
got it.
more into Indiana and the federal part of it, but
Oh, got it. So what?
Doug keeps me up to date about what's going on in Illinois.
Oh, got it. So they have him running again, who on its face, Darren isn't a bad guy, but Darren doesn't have a chance on earth to win. And what they do in Illinois is there's media blackouts. If you're actually running for the people or you want to affect change, you don't get the media. You don't get the, they'll put out, articles about the governor's race, mention everybody but me. They'll do surveys and leave my name off the survey. They're so afraid. With this Darren Bailey, we're going to have the same thing. If he gets to the primary, it's just atrocious what happens with the rigging and the interest in Illinois. And I do believe if people understood what was behind why we're so continually aggrieved, they would do better. And that's what I plan to do. Call all these people out along the way. For too long, they call it the corruption, the uniparty, the rhinos. Let's start talking about the individuals that are behind it. Make it uncomfortable for them. That's how we can start winning races. We have to get rid of the interlopers and the bad actors that are holding us back, and that's what I plan to do.
One thing I did want to talk to you about with the trucking industry part of it. It states in the FMCSA handbook, and it has long before, pretty much when I started driving 38 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Everybody must read, write, and speak English. Now we have to create a bill to stop that. But yet, though, it was written in the regulatory industry when the FMCSA was founded. What's your thoughts on that?
100%. 100%.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, 100%. Anybody getting a CDL here should learn. First of all, above all else, let's blur the political line. For safety purpose, for reporting purpose, for, God forbid an accident occurs and you have to speak to a police officer that doesn't understand maybe another language. You have to be able to communicate in our language. So they wouldn't receive, if they couldn't speak, read and write English, they would not get the CDL.
Well, if you have somebody like Amanda around with you from time to time, she can translate for you.
You know what?
You're not going to have Amanda there every day.
That's right. That's exactly right. As much as I'd like to say yes, you have to be able to stand on your own. God forbid if something happened to the interpreter while you're with them or driving with them. You just can't rely on that. You need individuals that can communicate. They're moving thousands and thousands of pounds of, sometimes, very sophisticated instruments, dangerous instrumentalities, toxins, poisons, etc. They should be speaking English.
So can we limit that just to CDL, or is that anybody that actually works in the transportation industry?
That would take some thought, but at first glance, you know what?
I mean, you guys got a very big L train system up there.
I think you know what? I think it's I think it should be the CDL. So if that bleeds into whatever form of transportation, you could talk limousines, you could talk about buses, transportation. Part of my business was transportation. I do believe that you're getting a CDL and you're, if you're in the stream of commerce in that capacity, or you're moving, individuals around, you should be able to read, write, and speak English.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because if that would have been enforced earlier this year, we may not have had that problem we had in Florida.
Right. Which is
Now,
another dangerous thing.
I have to give DeSantis credit. The guy took off and went to California. Ron says, "No problem. I got a private jet. I'll be glad to come get you," and gave him an escort back.
Yeah.
I thought that was just, yeah, okay.
Fantastic. That's the kind of leadership, that shows as a testament as to who he is. And when it was between DeSantis and Trump, I was not a DeSantis fan. I was always a Trump fan. But the reality is, we need bold leaders like that will take the initiative and act in times where you need someone that's going to stand up. So kudos to him.
Well, and I do know I run a lot of Florida, and some of them guys can't even read the sign that for the ag station that everybody should pull in.
Sure.
And the next thing I know, I go by one night, one guy just went flying by, and the next thing I know, I heard a sound of a Hemi just going right after him.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of, well, that's good, number one. But number two, especially in trucking and like you're saying on the interstate, you need to be able to communicate with other truckers. You need to understand what's happening. That's the majesty of being a trucker. You look out for one another. There's a lot of communication. You need individuals that could take part in those conversations. So that's why we need them to be speaking English and understand their surroundings.
Well, and finally, I like to say in this part of it that I've seen a lot of changes in this industry, as I'm sure some of your people from helping you from the Teamsters have seen it too.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing I've got is, and this is going to kind of touch a nerve here, I don't appreciate the fact that you get these mill schools. They claim in 3 to 4 weeks they can make you a professional truck driver. And then all they're doing is what they're doing, they will find who can breathe. They'll put a mirror underneath of them. If they show they breathe, they put their butt in the seat.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see, it's again about revenues. We have to get back to a merit-based economy rather than an interest-based economy.
Now, as being governor, would you get rid of these mill schools?
It's tough. That's going to take more thought. And I love speaking to people like you because you want to have the conversations and rely upon or delegate to individuals that know more, like you do the trucking industry, obviously. So that would take some thought and we would figure it out. But I will tell you that, these profit-based institutions have to go. I'll say that.
Well, and another thing I agree with Governor Braun is, and Tennessee and a few other states have actually started doing this. I believe it's either their junior or senior year. They are actually offering trucking courses as as a vocation.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
they're actually to the point now that they're working with simulators.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I like the direction that we're moving as a culture. We're getting back to the trades. We're getting back to the trucking. We're getting back to the fabrics of what moved us along. So I love those initiatives, and we need leaders that can kind of help to bolster them. And that's what I intend on doing. Not everybody wants to be, an accountant or a trucker or an attorney or physician. Some of them, maybe want to hit the open road. Maybe some of them, like playing around with furnaces and, and we have to find help to, create initiatives for these individuals to be able to make a living the way that they see fit. We have to create guardrails for parents to educate their children as they see fit. I'm a big a proponent of school choice and for homeschooling and parents being the first educator. All it takes is leadership. That's all it takes. Once you're in the spot, you can affect change instantly because these people are just kind of piranhas and, that for a little bite of the pie, they're willing to do anything. And you have to understand how to create leverage in order to be effective so you can bolster up the things that we care about most. It'll be
Well,
interesting.
and another thing is that, I'm third generation for my family.
One,
Uh, I chose this profession. This is what I wanted to do. But then you got people that lose their factory jobs, automotive industry or whatever. They think it's a bailout. And then they go and they rack up a bunch of CSA points or whatever the case might be.
mhm,
They end up getting terminated. But yet, though, those that chose this as a profession are forced to hinder all that indulgence that they did.
sure.
I think some of that needs to be changed a little bit as well. But you can't please one just to satisfy how many others.
That's true.
But we
But
we are so overregulated right now. It's totally unreal.
sure, but you could also ensure that the automotive and these companies are not leaving the state, thereby creating more competition for individuals like yourself. Uh, you need the right individual and the leader there, and you can do a lot through tax incentives, and that's exactly what we plan on doing.
Well, and I think that's what's happened a lot with these middle schools. They get a lot of that kickback
Hmm.
from the government. And I know with one particular company, I won't bring their name up, they get $1,500 a week per student, regardless if they pass or not.
Oh, interesting. That's the problem. That's the cronyism, and that's what we're fighting against. So in Illinois, just imagine there's more bureaucrats, patronage jobs, politically connected individuals, government officials that are in Illinois, and every one of them have some kind of an interest or they're protecting somebody. And then you show up and say, "Listen, I'm going to run and help people," and they're like, "Oh no, you're not. You're not getting involved with what I'm doing." Uh, so that's what we plan on doing. It's going to be interesting.
So, in conclusion, Joe, because we're getting
Yes,
low, I don't want to keep you up, and we're at
sure,
8:05.
sure.
Uh, Here's your chance, bud. I'll let you give your campaign ad.
Here's what's happening. I need individuals. I need people to go to my website, info or severinoforgovernor.com. Learn more about me as a candidate, learn more about my candidacy and the pillars upon which we're going to run, learn about my lieutenant governor. We need sophistication, intellect, image, experience right now to battle JB Pritzker. If it's not Joe Severino that gets through to have the fight in the general election, we are going to hand him a third term. We can't allow the cronyism. We cannot allow these consultants to control our elections anymore. We have to give the power back to the people. That's why I say it's my name on the ballot, but your voice. I mean that authentically. Go to my website, learn more about me, make a contribution to the campaign, tell your friends about me in Illinois. All we have to show up in droves on March 17th, vote for me in the primary, and it'll be a new day for Illinois. And I thank you for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it.
Well, the one nice thing about
Oh, what's that?
the one nice thing I like that you were saying, Joe, is I used to deal with a broker up in Chicago. He was South Side himself. And you guys you shoot a straight arrow. And for that, I've always had respect for the South Side.
Oh, well,
I've
thank you.
never found one that never did.
Yeah, well,
I
thank
never
you.
found one that never did. They didn't, as I say in Indiana, they don't take the long way around the barn.
Yeah, that's a great saying. What we're doing is this is a campaign about the people and the people's power and their voice. Uh, and that's why everything, I don't have to speak to a consultant before I respond. I'm giving the transparent truth. Um, and just so there's no surprises when I'm in office and people will know exactly what they voted for, and there's going to be an expectation of what they voted for, and I'm going to keep that promise. So that's why I'm shooting as straight as possible, so people understand the offering. Hopefully, they're inspired, and you're going to have somebody that really cares about them in that seat.
Well, and I appreciate you for keeping it real tonight. I really do. So when's your election?
March 17th is the primary, and that's crucial that everybody comes out on that day because, they keep saying, oh, Joe's going to be great. He'll beat Pritzker. Well, they don't realize they have to beat these Republicans first. So
That's
everybody,
exactly that's exactly what Doug brought up to me in yesterday's interview.
yeah. So we need people to come out on March 17th. They come out, get me through the primary. I'll know how to, put our aces in our places. Individuals that, like the one guy that's in the race, and I don't have any personal animus with him. Ted is his name. He's a policy guy. He's been there for 15 years. Then he was there for another 5 years with his own thing, just complaining constantly about what the Democrats are doing wrong. But he understands policy. I would adopt him and bring him into the campaign. There's you have to know how to use your aces and put them in their places, as they say, and that's exactly what I would intend. We'd build a beautiful team, start uniting everybody together on day one, and that's the way you beat Pritzker.
Well, that's a pretty good start right there. That's a real good start.
Yeah.
But I'd like to bring you back on in February if we could.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
And I'm looking at doing some reformatting and putting some things together. So I'm hoping we can bring you back on.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
But I do thank you for being on tonight, Joe, and I appreciate it. So this concludes the Truckers Channel for the rest of the year. With the holidays coming up and everybody running around, we just decided it was best just to go ahead and make this a last show for the year. But we're planning on coming back in January, and we should have some things set up in place. So with that being said, thank you everybody tonight that came on. I appreciate everybody's opinions. And remember, this is the Truckers Channel.
And before I go, I wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas.
You as well, sir.
I wish I would have done on the air. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks so much for having me.
You too.
Bye-bye.